Well, hey guys, how you doing? So excited to be here to talk about the power of an effective internet marketing strategy. And I want to start just by asking you a couple questions to kind of put you in the right mind frame and just ask, have you ever wondered what it would be like to be the dominant player, the dominant plumbing or HVAC company in your market online? Have you ever wondered what it would be like to have a flood of calls coming in on a consistent basis from people in your area that were looking for your services? And have you ever wondered what it would be like to know that you had the right strategy, that you knew what needed to be done, you knew it was being done consistently, and you had some scalability in what you were doing online? Well, that's what I want to cover with you today. We're really going to help you discover a proven blueprint of the most important online marketing channels that you should be tapping into to maximize your lead flow online. There's so many different moving parts, from SEO to pay-per-click to pay-per-lead services to Angie's List and Judy's book. It's going to try and help you understand what the key channels are that you should be tapping into and in what sequence in order to maximize your lead flow and to maximize your effectiveness. I'm going to share a proven strategy for getting ranked on page 1 for the most important plumbing and HVAC related keywords in your area, and a strategy that's proven to double or triple the conversion on your website from visitor to caller. Because who cares if you get a lot of traffic to the website if it's not converting to calls, right? And so, who am I and why should you listen? Well, again, my name is Josh Nelson. I'm the CEO of Plumbing and HVAC SEO. We're a leading provider of internet marketing services. I'm the author of the Complete Guide to Internet Marketing for Plumbing Companies, as well as How to Triple Your Sales by Getting Your Internet Marketing Right for the plumbing and HVAC space. I'm a member of QSC, PHCC, Service Roundtable, Nexstar, but probably more important than any of that stuff is that I've had the opportunity to work with literally hundreds of plumbing and HVAC companies all throughout the country and internationally, and have had a lot of success helping them go from no placement online to the point where they now dominate, a lot of them getting hundreds of calls every single month via the internet, and in many cases, seeing an increase in their total top-line revenue by over $1 million. And so I say that not to brag, but just to tell you that what I'm going to be sharing with you throughout the course of today's session is really based on real-world experience in the trenches with companies just like yours. And just a quick background on me, because sometimes you like to know who's speaking and kind of where they came from and how they got to be where they are. This is a photo of me. I come from a missionaries family. I grew up in Haiti for the first 10 years of my life. So moved to the United States about 10 years old and had an interest in internet marketing and really more an interest in entrepreneurship. Knew I wanted to start a business at a young age. And so right out of high school, I started a web design and hosting company. And I thought, man, this is going to be great. I'm going to start my own company. And I found a partner. I went out and got some money together. Decided I needed to rent an office. I needed to get a phone system. I needed to put marketing strategies in place. And really decided I needed some capital. And so I figured I needed about $10,000. And I went to my dad. I told him I needed this $10,000. And I told you I came from a missionaries family. So my dad didn't have a lot of money. And asking him for $10,000 would be the equivalent of asking for $150,000. But somewhere or another, he scrounged the money together, and I was off to the races. And I started the company and didn't have the drastic success that I had expected. After about 2.5 years working, building websites, hosting websites, kind of on a treadmill, I realized I wasn't making any money, and I was working really hard. I was working between 50 and 60 hours per week. I don't know if you guys experienced that earlier in your career, working hard and making no money, feeling that frustration. And it was one of the hardest things I had to do 3 years in, to go to my dad and say, hey, Dad, I'm real sorry, but this isn't going to work, and I'm going to have to shut this business down. I'm not going to be able to repay that money. And I learned a lot of lessons in that process. What I was doing in that first business was I was building brochureware websites. So I would set up a website, and I would host it. And the company would pay me very little, $800 to $1,000, because there was no value in it. And so there was no scalability. And really what I learned was that if you're going to be in this space, you have to make sure that you're developing strategies to generate results. Not just setting up websites, but really setting up strategies to generate leads, generate return on investment. And so that was a painful time, but that was what I learned. After several years out of the business, kind of went back to my roots and said, no, I really am going to give this another shot. I'm going to build a company, but this time it's going to be based on getting my clients results. It's going to be based on implementing sound SEO strategies, pay-per-click strategies. And early on, I was lucky enough to connect with a plumbing company, Town Plumbing, in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And I set up his website, and I did his SEO, and got him ranked on page 1 for his most important keywords. And within about 6 months, he was seeing noticeable increase in sales and revenues within his business. It was real exciting because I got to see him go from a 2-man operation to the point where he had 9 full-time employees. And it worked so well that he referred me to a friend in Miami, and I was able to do the same thing for him and get him really strong results. And from that, I decided rather than being a full-service internet marketing company that caters to anyone, roofers, dentists, chiropractors, I decided let's just be the very best internet marketing company that there is for the plumbing and HVAC space. From there, we published our book, we joined the associations, and again, we've had the opportunity to work with several hundred plumbing and HVAC companies and be part of their growth and part of their success. I'm proud to say we now have a team of about 26 full-time employees at our office in Miami, Florida. We're fast growing. We're going to make the Inc. 5000 fastest growing companies list of 2016. And that's why I love the plumbing and HVAC space. That's why I'm so excited to be here with you guys and share what we're finding that's working, what's worked for other plumbing and HVAC companies just like yours, and really help you apply some of these strategies to accomplish your goals and really take your company to the next level. So that's enough about me. Let's really get in and start to dive into the strategies and techniques that we've discovered that work. And so you guys are QSC members. I know that you're a little more advanced than the average plumbing and HVAC companies, right? You've got the bruised knees, you've invested a lot in SEO and pay-per-click, and you understand the importance of internet marketing. So I'm going to start with the big picture. I don't want to get super granular. I want to talk about what are the things that you should be doing, what are the proven channels that are going to generate the best results for you. And so this is what we've coined as the digital dominance method. Again, working with several hundred plumbing and HVAC companies and interviewing some of the most successful companies in the nation, companies doing $30 and $40 million per year in annual revenue. I was able to spend time with them and really drill down on what they're doing to generate that type of result. And really what it came down to was these key 8 things. Number 1 being the foundation. Having a good website that's properly optimized, that has good conversion elements, that can convert a visitor to a caller, having a reputation management strategy where you have online reviews, and you've got consistency around ranking for your most important keywords and the non-paid listings on the search engines. And so that's really what I consider to be number 1. It's really where you have to start. You should have this foundation in place before you're spending a lot of money in pay-per-click and being in all these other online directories. Does that make sense? From there, we go to number 2, and that's pay-per-click advertising. And I know a lot of you guys have tried pay-per-click advertising and maybe not gotten the return on investment that you expected. How many would you say you did pay-per-click and it didn't quite work out the way you expected? Okay, lots of hands. I can say that when done correctly, pay-per-click can have a great return on investment. It can be a very scalable channel for driving more leads within your company. But really what I find, and what I find when pay-per-click doesn't work, is when it's done before the foundation is set up correctly, before there's a strong website that's going to convert well. From there, I think you all should be thinking about retargeting. And this was a hot topic on the queue list coming into this session, was what's retargeting? Is that something we should be looking at? And all retargeting is knowing that when the customer gets to your website, you're going to follow them around the internet over the next 30 to 90 days in order to remain top of mind with them via banner ads. You guys know what I'm talking about when I say retargeting and banner advertisement? Okay. Kind of like stalking. Somebody said stalking. That's right. And the reason I think this is such a powerful opportunity is because statistically, 80 to 90% of the people that get to your websites aren't converting. So they get to the site. We know that they have a need for plumbing or HVAC services. We know that they're in your service area. That's why they're on your website. But 80% or more of them are leaving and not calling and not taking action. So retargeting gives you the opportunity to get back in front of them while they're still in that buying phase, maybe over the next 30 to 90 days. And we found it to be a very low-cost, high-impact way to really generate better results and better conversions from the visitors that are already getting to your website. Then there are paid online directory listings. These are things like Angie's List and CitySearch and YP.com and Yelp.com. When I say paid online directories, I'm not referring to just having the free listing. I'm talking about being a paid advertiser and showing up in the places where your customers are looking. And I know some of you will battle me maybe a little bit on this and say, no, Angie's List is terrible people and they overcharge. But really what this is about is being ever present in your customer's mind as they're looking for you online. And so some of them are looking on Angie's List, and some of them are looking on Yelp.com. And as you scale, right, you might not want to jump in with those, but as you scale your overall internet marketing strategy, you should be carving out some portion of your budget for those paid online directories and things of that nature. Then you want to make sure you've got a repeat and referral strategy in place, a systematic way to remain top of mind with your customers so that they remember you and so that they use you again. And there are very low cost, high impact tools that you can use to do this. Email marketing, just keeping the names and email addresses of your customers and using a system like MailChimp or Constant Contact to send an email blast at least once a month. And then believe it or not, social media has a very powerful avenue to drive more repeat and referral business. So having your Facebook, Twitter, Google+, getting your real customers, not phantom customers, but your real customers to like you, to subscribe to you. Now, by virtue of that, you can put out information that they're going to see on a consistent basis as they log in to these social media channels. So you don't want to be ignoring social media as an effective strategy to drive more repeat and referral business. From there, there's actually the pay-per-lead services. And when I say that, I'm talking about Home Advisor, I'm talking about eLocal Plumber, those types of services. The reason I have it all the way down at number 6 is because this is probably the lowest quality, hardest to convert leads you're going to get. It's going to a lot of different people. And a lot of the startup guys, this is where they spend all their money, and this is where they live, and they have very low profit margins. They're not allowed to, really able to scale the business very quickly. But at the same time, if we want to be dominant where our customers are looking, we want to at least have the opportunity to play on these pay-per-lead services. And one of the nice things about, for instance, Home Advisor is that you can ratchet the budget up and you can ratchet it down. So if leads are slow and your guys are kind of sitting idle, you can turn up your Home Advisor leads and get your guys out in the field. But if you're busy and you're at full capacity, you don't have to waste a dime on those types of leads. So nobody throw rocks at me. I know you don't like pay-per-lead services. I just think it's something you want to have as part of your overall arsenal. And there's something to be said for the fact that Home Advisor is in the process of doing some type of partnership with Google. We don't know exactly what the details are. It's something that's in the works. I believe there might be some tie-in to the Google Map listings being replaced with Home Advisor. That's just hypothetical. I may be completely wrong. But if that's going to happen, that's going to have a huge impact on the number of leads that you're getting if you're already ranking on the Google Map in your area. So you want to consider at least reaching out to Home Advisor, setting up an account. That way you've got a placeholder and you don't wind up 6 to 9 months behind the competition on this front. And then there's what I call social media advertising. So social media, the real power of social media is the repeat and referral aspect, the relationship marketing. But there's also social media advertising, which is paying for placement on Facebook. And we all know there's tons of traction going to Facebook right now. Lots of people checking in 6 to 9 times per day. And Facebook is getting really creative with letting you hyper-target the people in your service area that meet your demographics. So homeowners that have $150,000 annual income might be the kind of person you want to reach. And this is way down my list because it's still very early in improving an ability to drive a return on investment. But if you're doing radio advertising, if you're doing TV advertising, and you're really trying to remain top of mind with your customers, for a fraction of the cost that you're spending in those channels, you could be getting those same eyeballs from the people that meet your demographics. So I didn't want to spend too much time on this, but I really wanted to kind of paint in broad brush what the big picture of your internet marketing strategy is and what you should be doing. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention number 8, which has nothing to do with digital marketing. It's offline. Everything has shifted to online, and I'm fully on board with that. But the fact is, you still need to be mailing your customers. You need to send them a thank you note, a physical thank you note after the service call. You need to probably send out a newsletter at least once a month and put an iron fence around your customers. Don't just hide behind digital. You want to be leveraging some of the old school direct mail strategies that existed as well. And what we found is that companies that are doing somewhere between 6 and 8 of these strategies are getting really strong results and seeing significant growth within your company. And so what I want you guys to do is just take a couple minutes, and you guys have a worksheet. You guys all have the worksheet. Can someone hold this worksheet up that way? The Get Your Internet Marketing Right worksheet. And I want you to go through this. Just spend a couple minutes, and if you see something that you're doing well, and you can say, yep, we've got this on lock, put a checkbox next to it. If it's something that you're a little unclear on, and there's going to be certain things that you'd say, no, I don't even know what you're talking about, circle that, because you want to come back to it. But then you might see other things that you just know you're not doing. And maybe it's as obvious as we're not doing email marketing, or we're not tapping into social media marketing at this point. Put a star next to that. Because really what I want to come out of this session today is for you guys to have a clear action plan. I want you to be able to say, okay, when I get back to the office on Monday, these are the things I need to focus on. These are the things that I need to go ahead and put an action plan and implement. So I'll give you guys a couple minutes to work through that worksheet now. Yes?
If we're already working with you, can we check all these?
You can check most of them. You know, there are a lot of you guys that are working with us, and we really appreciate your business. But not all of you are doing everything, right? You might not be tapping into our social media advertising, or you might not be doing pay-per-click advertising yet. So look through the worksheet and see if there's anything that you might need to look at. So as you're going through this, if you see things that you're not sure about, we're going to be drilling down as we go. So we'll bring a lot more clarity around some of these topics. But what I found is that awareness precedes change. So until you're aware that something's not quite right, you can't change it and you can't fix it. So that's why I think this is a really powerful exercise, just to bring some awareness to where there might be some room for improvement. Okay, so we're going to come back to that. I really appreciate, I see a lot of you guys working on the worksheets, really taking this seriously. I appreciate that. Believe me, if you go back and you have just found 1 or 2 things that you can take action on, you can see a significant increase in the amount of leads that you're generating via the internet right now. So I'm excited for you in taking the action to identify the room for improvement. And so I found that the easiest way to learn is through case studies and examples. And so I'm going to share a case study of what can happen when you start to get your internet marketing right, and what impact that can have on you as a business. And so I want to talk about Falls Church Plumbing, the plumbing doctor out of Falls Church, Virginia. It's owned by Bill Bennett and Tracy Bennett. And Bill calls himself Dr. Bill. It's kind of a play on the plumbing doctor, and each of his technicians are Dr. John and Dr. Charlie and everything else. So it was a pretty fun thing that they do. And they built up a pretty significant business over the years. Started in the 1980s, grew to about a little bit shy of $1 million per year in revenue. So a pretty solid company. And they had done that by advertising the yellow pages. So they had a double truck ad in their market. They knew that was where customers looked when they needed their services. And it was enough to keep their 7 or 8 guys busy full time, and things were great. But somewhere around mid-2000, they started to notice a decline. Right? The leads weren't flowing in at quite the same velocity as they once did. And Dr. Bill got a little bit concerned. He said, man, we need to really think about our marketing strategy, because if we don't get this right, we're going to start missing opportunities. We're going to start losing customers. And so the first thing they really needed to think about was, where did the customers go? If they weren't looking in the yellow pages anymore, where were they looking? And this isn't going to be a big revelation for you guys. I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. The fact was, the customers had shifted online. Where the number one place they looked prior was in the yellow pages, now they were looking on Google. They were looking on Yahoo. They were looking on Bing. They were looking on Angie's List. And statistics tell us almost 97% of your customers are using the internet in some form or fashion when they need your services. And so it got pretty clear that they needed to own the internet in their market. They needed to make sure they had a strategy to show up in all of those places where people looked. And as you guys have experienced, there's a lot of different options. There's a lot of different resources you can tap into to do that, to get your internet right. And so the first thing they tried was the Yellow Pages. Yellow Page rep came in, said, hey, we've done well for you over the years, and now we've moved online as well, and we're going to set you up with a website, and we're going to get you online. And that didn't quite work out the way they had expected. Yellow Page did set up for a website for them, and they did get them on yp.com, but the call count just wasn't there. They weren't seeing a lot of leads via the internet. And the problem with this strategy was Yellow Pages set up a templatized website. So there's nothing wrong with a templatized website, but it was just kind of generic, right? It didn't have any information about them. It didn't have any pictures. There was nothing that made them distinctive from all of the other plumbing companies in their area. The other problem with this strategy was that Yellow Pages got them on yp.com, but not on Google, not on Yahoo, not on Angie's List. So they still weren't showing up in the place where the majority of their customers were looking. So they needed to go back to the drawing board, and their next approach was to launch a pay-per-click campaign. One of the companies came in, great pay-per-click marketing strategy, said, look, we're going to get you on page 1 in the paid listings. We've got this great technology where we can record the calls and we can really track the return on investment. I mean, if you guys have heard this before. And they said, okay, let's do it. And so they went to town with an aggressive pay-per-click strategy, and this worked pretty well off the gates. They started to get more calls, they started to get more leads, but what they experienced was that no matter how much they spent, they only just about broke even. So if they spent $5,000 a month in pay-per-click, they generated about enough to cover that investment. So not that that's a problem, because if you've got a good lifetime customer value and you're good at maximizing your ticket, you can still win with a break-even proposition, but they needed to replace the lead flow they were getting from the Yellow Pages back in the day, and this just wasn't going to cut it. So really, the problem with this strategy, excuse me, I jumped a slide, was that they were getting more traffic and they were showing up on Google now, but they were only showing up in the paid listings. So they were showing up here in the area along the top and along the side, and this side doesn't exist anymore, but they were showing up in that area. When the reality is the majority of the customers, almost 70%, click on the organic listings, the map listings in the area below the map listings. So they were missing the lion's share of the opportunity. The other problem was that the website was still the old Yellow Page site that was built for them, that was templatized, that was very generic, and it didn't have any of that messaging that made them stand out. So they had to go back to the drawing board, and really what they needed to figure out, and really what it all came down to, was they needed to make sure they were ranking on page 1 for the plumbing-related keywords in their service area, and they needed to make sure that their website can convert a visitor to a caller. And if you don't take anything else away from this session, you just say, okay, how do we rank better and how do we convert callers better? That's how you win the internet marketing game. So they were finally able to get their internet marketing strategy right, launched a new version of the website that had a lot of personality. So we're going to talk about the elements of conversion that will help you maximize your lead flow. But they had pictures of their team. They had online testimonials and reviews. They had messaging that was different than all of the other guys in their market, and that made them distinctive, that made them stand out. So that was the first big piece of the puzzle. And they also had their website optimized in a way that it started to rank for the keywords in their area. So when someone typed in false church plumber, false church plumbing, false church emergency plumber, false church drain cleaning, they were ranking on page 1, and they were ranking on page 1 in a variety of areas. And what happened in this transition, and this is why I like to call it a case study, because we really want to get down to the nitty-gritty. In this transition, they went from averaging 254 visitors per month to 733 visitors per month. What's more instructive is that their call count increased from 24 tracked calls on their call tracking lines to 88 inbound calls. So that's a pretty nice increase in the number of leads and the number of calls. It's about a 3-time increase. And then we implemented some of the paid online strategies. So that was just the SEO stuff. Then we got a little active with pay-per-click advertising, Angie's List, Yelp.com, and saw an even bigger bump in the lead flow and the call count via the internet. And this is just looking back from 2014 to 2016. Their call count increased from 721 visitors to 1,500 visitors. And that represented an increase in calls from 72 calls to 306 calls. And that's about what they're averaging on a monthly basis via their web marketing strategies, somewhere between 300 and 350 calls per month. And so if we recap and we kind of look back, 2011, 24 calls, 2016, 306 calls, that's about a 12-time increase in the number of calls, the number of leads, and overall their ability to generate revenue and profitability. And what it meant for them was that they were able to grow from about $900,000 in revenue back in 2012 to $1.7 million in 2015. They were able to expand from 9 guys to 17 guys. Probably most importantly, they're able to have the confidence that they have a strategy that consistently generates leads, keeps their guys busy, and is scalable, because the paid advertising element of this is almost completely scalable. As they continue to increase their budget and as their cost per lead is in line, they can continue to drive more leads, more sales, and really expand their business. And so I just want you to think what that would mean for you. And maybe these numbers are insignificant, right? Maybe you're at a much higher level, but that's fine. I want you to think about the percentages. What would it mean to you if you could have a noticeable increase in the number of calls and the number of leads, and if you could have a consistent, scalable strategy to grow that lead flow online? And so now I really want to apply this to your business. I want to kind of roll up our sleeves and get a lot of clarity around what did the plumbing doctor do and what did all of the other companies that we've had success with do that helped them get this kind of growth and velocity, and apply this to your business. So you guys went through the worksheet, and what I want you to do right now is just go to the next page in your worksheet and pick 3 items. Of all of those online marketing strategies, all of the things that you might have checked or put a circle around, what are 3 things that you know you need to work on that can have an impact on your business? Anybody want to volunteer their 3 things? Somebody? Okay, you, sir. Oh, hold on, wait for the mic, I'm sorry.
So my number 1 would be a website checkup, like meet with the people that do my website.
Okay.
Have like a State of the Union type of meeting with the people that do that stuff for me.
Yep.
Number 2 would be adding more YouTube videos.
Okay.
And number 3 would be more unique photos for my website.
Okay.
Replace all the stock photos that are on there.
Beautiful. Add some
There's not a
personality
lot,
in there.
but there's some.
Awesome. Good stuff. One other person? Anybody want to volunteer? Okay, we got somebody over here. Jeff? Hold on. I'm sorry. Hold on for the mic. Yeah.
I put better content, more frequent blogging, and then I got 2 other ones here, but a YouTube video, and then more pages for different services.
Okay, great. Good stuff. And so I hope you guys all came up with 3 things, because that's why you're here, right? You're not here to hear new ideas and kind of understand what the latest things are in internet. You're here because you want real strategies that you can go back and implement tomorrow. So write that down, that way you can take action. And think about who you're going to need to work with in order to make that a reality. Maybe you don't have the resources within your company to get that done. So in that second line, who do you need to engage with? Do you need to engage with your current provider? Do you need to get with a company like us or with like iMarket or one of the other providers to review your website, to review your current online marketing? And if so, write that down. That way you can take action on it. So just diving into our worksheet, the first question we all had was, do we have a website? And that's a freebie. If you're here, you better have a website. So you can all hopefully have checked out when you say, okay, we've got that totally under control. But the second one that's a little bit more challenging to answer is, does your website show up in the search engines? And when I say that, again, I'm talking about in the non-paid listings. So are you showing up on the map and in the organic sections in the search engines? And are you showing up really for the keywords that are important? Because I'm not talking about when you type in your company name, Cloverdale Plumbing, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when someone types in your city plumber, your city plumbing, your city drain cleaning, your city water heater repair, your city sump pump installation. There's a lot of different keywords that people are typing in when they need your services. So that's what I'm talking about. Doing an in-depth review, either running one-by-one searches, or there are tools that we can connect you with where we can run a report and show you where you're at today and where there's room for improvement. But it's real important that you get clarity on where you're ranking right now to determine if there's room for improvement. And so I have a list of keywords. If you want it, just let me know. I've got a list of the most commonly searched plumbing keywords based on our research and the most commonly searched HVAC keywords. So come see me afterwards if you'd like me to get you that list of keywords. So that's the first question on your checklist. You know, nobody can check that off just yet, right? You need to do a little bit more due diligence on Monday or when you get back to the office to get clarity around this particular question. The next is your website properly optimized for search? And this is another complicated one because if you don't have a little bit of an understanding of how search engine optimization works and what that means, you might not even know how to answer that question. And so I'm not going to go into a 5-hour tirade on SEO and the 100 different variables and all of these different things. I'm just going to focus on the top 20% of the little changes you can make on your website and you can look at to determine if it's optimized correctly or not. And so there's a couple things that Google looks at to determine what any page on the internet is about. They look at the title tag, which is up here in the top bar, the H1 tag, and the content on the page. So if you look at your website and your title tag, which is that area up there, says Bill's Plumbing instead of Daytona Plumber, your plumbing company in Daytona, you're not really getting your keywords into the title. And if your H1 says, welcome to our website, instead of your Daytona plumbing experts or something along those lines, you're not making it easy for Google to understand what your page is all about. So on any page on your website, you want to look at that, the title tag, the H1 tag, and then more importantly, the content on the website, right? It has to be unique. It has to be good content. You don't want the content written just for the sake of SEO, just a bunch of gibberish with your keyword written again and again. There's got to be a balance between having your keywords in these places on the site and good, unique content that makes sense to a consumer. From there, you want to make sure that you've got more pages. The one thing I find with plumbing and HVAC companies is typically they've got a website with about 5 or 6 pages. Home, about us, our services, coupons, contact us. And if you want to rank for all of those different services that you offer, bathroom remodeling and drain cleaning and backflow installation and repair, you need a page on the website for each of those services. So as you look at your site, try to determine, do you have those pages? Do you have pages for all of the different services that you provide? At least the ones that you want more business in. And do you have pages for the cities that you serve? We find most plumbing and HVAC companies serve between a 25 and 50 mile radius. And within their main city, there's anchor town, and then there's a lot of little cities and surrounding towns. So if you want to rank, not just in your main city, so for instance in Miami, you want to rank and focus around Miami, but you also serve Kendall, and you serve Palmetto Bay, and you serve Hialeah, all those little sub-cities and sub-towns in your service area. If you want to show up in search in those surrounding towns, you need pages for those cities. And I don't want you to get ridiculous and add 100 city pages, but somewhere between 5 and 15 city pages that have a decent population, that have the good demographics that you're interested in attracting business in. You want to rank in that area, you need a page on the website specifically targeting that. And you want that page to have the keyword in the title, in the H1, and then you want unique content on that page. So this is a big gotcha. It used to be pretty easy to do this. You'd create pages for all your cities, you duplicate it 15 or 20 times, and you change the city name. And all was great because you could rank for all those little cities and sub-towns. But Google changed their algorithm, and they treat those pages like doorway pages, and they wind up getting penalized. So you're probably better off if you have duplicate pages for all your cities, just to delete them and start over. But if you're starting to build this out, think about, do you have pages for each of your cities? Do you have unique content on those pages? A cool strategy for getting these pages to be unique is to use a tool like Nearby Now, which is just an app that your technicians install on their phones. And as they're going about their day, whether they're in City 1 or City 2 or City 5, they check in, the GPS coordinates from that is captured, they type a brief description, and then whatever city that service happened in will get posted to that page on the site. And so we found it to be really effective for generating unique content for those sub-city pages, which helps get you ranked in those surrounding cities and surrounding towns. So again, I promise not to go too deep on SEO, but I hope that gives you some insights on the little basic things you can change or look at on your website to determine, are we optimizing for specific keywords, or do we just have pages that were written for the sake of marketing? So does that make sense to everybody? Yes? I want to do an example because I think this makes abundant sense to me, but I find that when I ask people afterwards, they nod their head, but they didn't quite get it. So would somebody be willing to volunteer their website? That way we can pull it up and I can point out the titles and H1s and see whether it's optimized. What's the name of your company? GeneralPlumbing.com. Brian is helping me out in the back. He's going to pull that up. Thank you very much. Appreciate you guys volunteering. All right, so remember, the things we're looking at are the title tags, the H1s, and the meta descriptions. And this is a really nice looking website. Looks good. If we look at the title, it says plumbers in West Palm Beach. That's what we're looking for, right? So you've got your keywords in the title. Nicely done. Let's scroll down a little bit. Red carpet service. Very good messaging. Phone number in the right-hand corner. Just come down just a little bit. You deserve red carpet service. I mean, this works, and it's got a strong marketing headline, and it can really go either way. I like the fact that you have a marketing headline up here, and you've got plumbing companies serving West Palm Beach and Lake Worth areas. So kudos. We've got the title and the H1, and what looks to me like really nice, well-structured content on the site. Let's look at the service pages, Brian. It looks like I've got a link to a drain cleaning page. Go to the top. Actually, just go all the way to the top. And then go over, yeah. So they've got pages for each of their services. So you can do this with your website as well and say, all right, do I have a page for sump pumps if I want to do sump pumps? Do I have a page for drain cleaning? So, Brian, click on the drain cleaning page for me. Boom. And then the title, hover over the title real quick. Clog drain repair and drain cleaning services in Lake Worth and West Palm Beach. Good. You've got your keywords in the title. Might be that you've got a little too many characters in the title. You might want to move West Palm Beach because that's the anchor town a little bit further in. But, I mean, this passes all of the, is it properly optimized for search test? Drain cleaning services in Lake Worth, West Palm Beach, Florida. Excellent. Let's see if they have any city pages on this site. So go hover over Contact Us, Brian, and then Service Area. Beautiful. All right, so we've got a list of the services that we serve. Scroll down. And then we've got pages for each of the cities. So this is, in my opinion, a well-optimized website, right? Title tags, H1 tags, pages for the services, pages for the cities. Click on, click on Juno Beach for me. So plumbing company, Juno Beach, professional Juno Beach plumbers, good content. You know, I would imagine this is unique. The only thing I would check is make sure that it's unique from one city to the next. So I hope that helps kind of bring a little clarity. You can do this same thing for your website. It's not super complicated. And you know, at least you can tell yourself, yeah, I'm properly optimized or I'm not. So let's dive back in. And again, the keys we're looking for in optimization is pages for the services, pages for the cities, you know, keywords in the title tags, and then unique content, right? Make sure that you have unique content on all of these pages. Because if you're starting this from scratch and you don't have all these pages, it's easy to say, oh, I'm going to kind of shortcut this. I'm going to copy it from some other website. I'm just going to change the city to my city. Google is looking at the content, and they will know that you've basically duplicated a page, and you're not going to get the result that you'd expect out of this exercise if you don't write unique content. Excellent. So thank you very much for letting us use your website as an example. So what would you say is the number one thing that you can do that will have the biggest impact on the overall success or failure of your internet marketing? Anybody want to try and answer this one? Somebody, anybody? Tracking? Somebody said tracking. Anybody else? Convert visits into calls. This is really the most important thing. If you have a website that ranks for all of the keywords and it generates hundreds of visitors every single month or thousands of visitors every month, but it's not compelling and it doesn't convert a visitor to a caller, then you really haven't accomplished anything. And in most cases, there's things you can do in order to enhance the conversion of your website from visitor to caller. And so in your workbook, you have this. This is our website conversion cheat sheet. It kind of shares some of the strategies we found to be most effective to maximize conversion. And within a plumbing and HVAC business, conversion is the call, right? We all want web forms, and there's other elements of conversion, but at the end of the day, nothing happens until a phone call is generated into your office. So really what we want to optimize for is conversion. And I'm just going to spend a few minutes sharing some good ideas and tactics that you can kind of look at your website and say, do I have these elements? And if I don't, I can make little tweaks that will have a big impact on the conversion rate of my website. So the first is making sure you have your phone number in the header somewhere on your website. We find that the eye naturally gravitates when looking at a website to the top right-hand page. And so you want to make sure that you have your phone number in the header, ideally in the top right-hand corner. I mean, it's not going to hurt conversion if it's in the middle, but the fact is you want to make sure it's on the header of your website and on every page. So if you've got the drain cleaning page and the water heater page, make sure that you put the phone number up there so they don't have to scroll down or hit contact us in order to get in contact with you. Leverage personality. You know, as I look at plumbing and HVAC companies throughout the country, in a lot of cases, these websites are extremely anonymous. There's pictures of stock photography. There's the guy with the wrench and the goofy smile, and he's kind of there. And that might look good, but it's not going to convert very well. People want to do business with people they know, like, and trust. And so using real authentic imagery, so this is Kasha Plumbing. They're members of the QSC. I don't think they're here. But you see, we get to see their smiling faces, and they seem like good guys, the kind of guys you want in your home. And to the extent that you can do that, we've split tested this, it has a huge impact on conversion. Also very powerful is having the team shot. So if you've got a big team or a small team, 5 or 6 guys or 50 guys, get a picture of the entire team in front of the vans. Put that up in the header. Again, it shows the scope of your operation, and it's going to resonate with the customer at a different level. Leverage your social symbols. So the main apprehension somebody has when they get to your website is, can this person be trusted? Are they going to show up on time? Are they going to do what they say? And so you're trying to get past any of those subconscious barriers that would prevent them from calling you. And so tapping into authority symbols, which are just company brands that they're familiar with or they might recognize, specifically the BBB, Angie's List, if you're members of QSC, things like that just help to reduce the barrier of fear that you're going to not do what you said or you're going to be a tough company to deal with. So make sure that you have those social signals on your website. Leverage multimedia when possible, and by that I really mean video. If a picture is worth 1,000 words, then a video is worth $1 million. I didn't say that right. But have a video that greets the person, welcomes them to your website, lets them know what makes you different than the competition. Because again, when you have video, it's going to help with conversion. It's also going to help with your SEO because they're going to get to the website, they might play it and stay an extra 10 or 15 seconds on the page, and that extra 10 or 15 seconds, Google's looking at that and it has an impact on how authoritative you are and how well you rank overall. So this might be a good thing for you guys. I know that some of this is kind of old hat. You guys are QSC members, you're cutting edge, you've got good websites, you've got fleshed out content, but have you added the authenticity and the personality? Do you have the real pictures, and are you leveraging multimedia in this way? Are you showcasing your testimonials and reviews? Again, their biggest apprehension is, can you be trusted? And so show them what all of your happy customers are saying about you. This is one of the most powerful tools you have in your arsenal, is to say, hey, look, we've got all of these reviews from happy customers. Have a web form on your website. You want to make it easy as possible for someone to take the next step. And in some cases, a phone call is not convenient. They might be working and not be in a place where they can pick up the phone, but they're searching online because there's a situation. So you want to make sure you have a web form where they can type in their name, their contact information, and submit it off for contact. And I only mention this because it gets missed in about 9 out of the 10 of the plumbing and HVAC websites I look at, is to have a compelling call to action at the bottom of every page of the website. So I find a lot of times you got this great drain cleaning page, for instance, and it's got this cool content about, what causes a drain cleaning and why you're the best guys to call out, but you don't tell them as they get to the bottom to call your office right now or click here to schedule an appointment. So make sure that all of the pages on your website at the very bottom that you're giving them a clear and concise call to action. That way they know what to do next. And these things can have a huge impact on your conversion rate. And if you can just get a small bump, it can have a big impact on the amount of calls and the amount of leads. I talked about this a little bit when we were talking about the big picture, but retargeting is a great way to maximize conversion rates. Like I said, something like 5 to 10% of the people that get to your website are taking action. The other 90% are leaving and they're not doing anything. You're able to use retargeting to place banner ads in front of people, whether they're on Facebook or they're on ESPN, because they were on your website earlier that week or earlier that day. And kind of the pushback that was on the queue list is, oh, this is like stalking. I'm not comfortable with that. Okay, fair. The other thing was, oh, this is an emergency type need. We are in the plumbing space. Somebody's going to get to my website and they're going to call or they're not. And there's no point in doing retargeting. And I would argue not all of your services are emergency based. If they're thinking about installing a tankless water heater, if they're thinking about repiping their home, that could have a 30 to 90 day evaluation process. And so why not remain top of mind with them while they're in the buying phase? Also, statistics tell us that if we can get them back to your website a second time, they're twice as likely to convert into a customer. The other argument I would make for retargeting is your competitors are going to be doing this. So if you're not taking advantage of this and your competitors are showing up in banner ads relative to the service, do you think they're more or less likely to get that call than you? Absolutely. So, this is a low-cost thing. You're talking about a couple $100 a month. You can put a pretty aggressive retargeting campaign in place, remain top of mind, and get a nice bump in the conversion from visitors to callers. The other powerful strategy is what we call live chat. You guys are all familiar with live chat, I'd imagine. Maybe not within the context of your plumbing or HVAC business, but live chat is almost like a forced web submission. So they're on your website, they're in need of your services, they may or may not be in a place where they can pick up the phone. You can bring in a little agent, and you can either handle this within your office or you can have a third party manage it for you, kind of like an answering service via text. And it has a pretty nice element to increase the amount of leads you get for the traffic coming to your website. And hugely important from a conversion perspective is to make sure that you're optimizing for mobile. Mobile's huge. There's 4.8 billion mobile phone users. 3 out of 5 of them, when they're looking for plumbing and HVAC services, are searching on their mobile phone. I see this in looking at the statistics of our clients throughout the country, and it's almost 40 to 50% of the visitors that are getting to these plumbing and HVAC websites are getting there on mobile phones. And if you don't have a mobile optimized version of the site, so a version that just fits nicely in the screen that they don't have to pinch, you're going to be losing customers, you're going to be losing calls. A report by Google says that 40% of mobile consumers turn to a competitor after a bad mobile experience. So if you're not mobile optimized, you're losing money. And you need to put a big star next to this one on your worksheet and make this your number one priority. It's not hard to set up your website so that it's mobile optimized. So it's a huge one, and you don't want to miss it. So we went through a lot of ideas to improve conversion. All of you guys are going to be at different levels of where you're at. Some of you have great websites. Some of you, maybe you don't have the best website yet. I listed out all of this stuff. I don't expect you to read it off the screen, but it's on your worksheet. And what I want you to do is select 3. Pick 3 things that you can do from a conversion-focused perspective, whether it's chat, whether it's putting video, whatever it is, and write it down. There's something powerful about writing things down. You might sit here, hear the idea, say, yeah, that's a cool idea, we should probably do that. But if you just keep it as an idea, nothing happens. But if you take the action and you take out your pen and you write down, I'm going to implement live chat on my site, you significantly improve the probability of actually doing that. So just take a couple seconds and pick those 3 items that you think can have that impact for you. want to pick on somebody from the back this time. That way you guys don't get all the attention. Anybody in the back want to volunteer the 3 things that they selected? Somebody, anybody? Towards the back? All right. Tina?
Claim the Google listing, email marketing, and reviews.
Okay, awesome. Good. Anybody else? Over here?
Yeah, I've heard it be suggested the little text box that comes up on
The chat?
the chat.
Yep.
Do you know of something that's probably more affordable than a couple $100s a month?
Well, like there's widgets that you can put on the website that are like 25 to 30 bucks a month. If you want to man the chat yourself, if you just search chat plugin, you'll find really low cost options.
Oh, really? Okay. Anyway, the other is, let's see. Oh, yeah, I like your submission form being just on the right rather than the front page.
Yep.
That looks good, so.
Awesome. Thank you.
Kenny? Oh, no,
Oh, okay.
Good stuff. Thank you, guys. So good. I hope you're getting some clear ideas that you can go back and implement to maximize the conversion on your website. Now, the next really important element that you need to be focused on is building links and building authority. And believe it or not, this is probably the most important aspect for everybody in attendance here today. Because from what I can tell, you guys are kind of on the cutting edge. You're more proactive than the average company. You've got good websites. You kind of fleshed out the content. You got pages for your services. But in some cases, you're still not ranking where you need to rank. And so the reason that you're not where you need to be is because there's not enough authority. So the difference between ranking on page 4 and ranking on page 1 is how authoritative Google feels that website that you have is and those pages that you developed on the site. And so how do you build the authority? There's a lot of different elements, from the number of online directories that you're in, to the number of online reviews that you have, to the amount of content that you publish, the quality of the content that you put out, and at some level, the links that you have from other websites online. This is a constantly moving target. There was a time where you could just get a bunch of links and that's all that mattered, and you could rank. Google changed things up and said, no, you need to have relevant links, otherwise you're going to get penalized. So really what I want you to be paying attention to, though, is that just having a good website isn't enough. Just optimizing it on the website, like I talked about, isn't enough. You have to have either somebody on your team or somebody that you work with that's proactively creating new content on a consistent basis, proactively adding you to new directories, proactively building new links back to your website. And when I say links, I know this is kind of an abstract concept. I try and give suggestions that kind of make sense. There's a lot of low-hanging fruit link opportunities that you can tap into. And so if you were really thinking around, well, how can I get these links? All a link is another website on the internet hyperlinking back to your website. And so there's lots of easy things like being in the online directories. They're not follow links. They're not really all of that valuable. But being in online directories does pass some authority back to your website. So making sure you're on Yelp and on CitySearch and on Angie's List and on all of these different online directories is very easy, and it can build some authority for you. If you're a member of certain organizations like PHCC and QSC or whatever other groups you belong to, in a lot of cases they have a list of members where you can get added to that list of members and get a link back to your website from there. These organizations are always looking for content. They're looking for new information that they can post to their blog. So you're subject matter experts in what you do. The latest changes in water heaters, the latest changes in how to repipe a home. If you write an interesting article on that topic and you submit it to the QSC or to the PHCC or some other organization, or you volunteer to submit that, somebody's going to take your content, and when they take it, that's going to result in a link back to your website. So I don't want to spend too much time on this particular topic, but I just wanted to give you some real-world thoughts around what links are and the types of links you can actually go out and get instead of being so abstract. Really, right now, the most powerful strategy you can use for building links is what's called competitive link acquisition. And that's the process of looking at the companies that are ranked on page 1 in your area. So if you type in where you're in, Daytona Plumber, there's a company that's in the number 1 spot, the number 2 spot, the number 3 spot, and they're there because they have the right authority. Google likes them. They've got a good website with good content, and they've got more links, probably more citations, and more authority than you. So there are tools like Majestic SEO and Ahrefs where you can type in those competitors' websites and get a full report. What links do they have? And then some of those links, you can say, okay, well, what if I submit a piece of content to that website? Can I get that link? Or maybe I should add my company to that directory. So again, don't want to get too abstract, but competitive link acquisition is the cleanest, most effective way to build high relevant, high authority links back to your website. And you have to be putting out relevant content on a consistent basis, whether you have a third party that does this for you or you do it yourself. You want to be the content developer, you want to be the content authority, so you have to be putting out authority content. And if you do that on a consistent basis, update your blog, submit content to the third-party associations that you're a part of, submit content to the Chamber of Commerce and to the organizations that you're in, you can really build some significant authority, and that's how you start to dominate the search engines in your respective market. So the question here is, do you have somebody thinking about this? There's a lot of more interesting things that I talked about throughout the course of today's presentation, but this is probably the most important thing that you should be paying attention to. Are you writing good content? Are you building links? Are you building authority? Because that's what's going to bridge the gap from being, again, on page 2 or being on page 1. And the last element that I'm really going to focus on today is getting ranked on the Google map. One of the most common questions I get from plumbing and HVAC companies is, how do I get ranked on the map in my market? And there's a lot of things that go into it, but really there's really 3 core elements that you need to look at. The first is having a claimed and optimized Google My Business listing. And this has changed from Google Places to Google Plus Local to now Google My Business. And it's just a place where you get a Google username and password, and you have control of your name, address, phone number, directory listing. And so the one thing I'll encourage you to do here, because almost everyone I talk with is unclear on what their Google account login is whether you did this through somebody else or you did it through a third party, make sure that you have access to the username and password to your Google My Business listing. Things happen, things change. You want to make sure that you at least have control of your Google Map listing so that you can log in and make sure that everything's on the up and up and that you have control of that number 1 piece of real estate where your customers are looking for you, and that's Google Maps. The second is making sure that you have a lot of citations across the web. So are you on Angie's List and City Search and Best of the Web and Hot Frog and eLocal Plumber? There's about 250 online directories that are relevant to plumbing and HVAC businesses. And Google doesn't just want to see you on Google. They want to be able to look across the web and say, is this company on other places? And so to the extent that you're in a lot of other online directories, you're going to be more authoritative. It's going to improve your probability of ranking on the map listings. The main thing to focus on here, though, is that you need consistency of your name, address, and phone number. So by that I mean if your company's name is Bill's Plumbing, then you want to make sure you're listed as Bill's Plumbing on all of the directories and not Bill's Plumbing and HVAC or Bill's Plumbing -Atlanta. So you want to make sure you've got the same name, the same address, and what some of you are going to fight me on is the same phone number in those directory listings. I know that there's a temptation to want to track and say, how many calls did I get from Yelp? How many calls did I get from Angie's List? But if you're putting tracking numbers in those online directories, you're fragmenting your name, address, and phone number. And so Google then can't connect your name, address, and phone number to all of those different online directories that you might be listed in, and that could be preventing you from ranking well in the Google Maps. So if you're not ranking well, and you're a really large player in your market, and you know you're in all of the online directories, probably there's just a lot of misinformation in terms of how you're being referenced online, and somebody needs to roll up their sleeves, go into each one of these directories, and get it cleaned up. And then the third element for getting ranked in the Google Map listings is online reviews. All other things being equal, online reviews is going to determine who's going to rank better in the Google Map listings. And not just online reviews on Google, but online reviews on the public review sites, like Angie's List, like Yelp.com, like CitySearch, like YP.com. So you want to make sure you have a diversified strategy for getting reviews on Google and all of the other online directories. And there are great tools for doing this. I know there was a panel about this prior to this session. There's ReviewBuzz, who's here with us. They're a QSE member that a lot of you use. There's Nearby Now, which is a great tool to automate this process. I don't really care that much about the tool that you use. I just care that you have a tool and that you use it consistently and that it's something that works for your technicians and it works for your business process. Ultimately, you want to have a physical card that you hand out at the service. So you provide the service, you finish up, and your technician's trained to say, hey, I really appreciate your business and the opportunity to serve you. I'm going to be gauged based on the reviews that you write for me. So would you be willing to write a review and then hand them a card? Our company, write us a review and a link to yourcompany.com/reviews. That's the first step. You have to plant the seed. And then you use the tool, whether it's ReviewBuzz or Nearby Now or Customer Lobby. There's a lot of these. And really, it just pushes out an email saying, hey, again, thanks for your business. We really appreciate if you take a couple minutes to write us a review. And my preference, just based on testing, is that be a direct link to the public site where they can write you the review. So a direct link where they can get to Yelp or a direct link where they can get to Google Maps. Because if you're creating a second hop where they have to write an internal review and then go write a public review, it tends to really depress the number of total reviews that you get. So I understand the benefit of it. I understand wanting to have quality control, but if I had my druthers, I'd prefer to send them directly to the place where they can write that online review. So I guess the key here is, do you have consistency of your name, address, and phone number? Do you have access to your Google My Business listing? Do you have a proactive, consistent strategy where after every service call, an email is going out thanking the customer and asking them to write an online review? And so going back to our big picture, right, we really spent a lot of time on the foundation, setting up the website, making sure that's optimized correctly, making sure that you're going to convert a customer to a caller. I've got a lot of companies that get to the $2 and $3 million a year revenue just doing good SEO. But as you grow and as you look to go to the next level, you might need to start to tap into some of these other paid online marketing strategies. And so as QSC members, you have access to our online dominance blueprint. I know maybe some of you have seen it, maybe you haven't. I've got trainings that go specifically into how to do each one of these things as effectively as possible. So I don't have time to cover all of that in today's presentation, but you have access to that training, and by all means, dive into it to learn more. The only thing I'll say about paid online marketing is that you want to make sure you have a good, strong foundation before you run too headstrong into pay-per-click advertising and all of these other different channels. The reason I say that is because this pyramid, to me, is the proper sequence of events and how you should roll out your online marketing strategy. You really want to make sure you have a good organic foundation. By organic, it's, again, having a good website that's going to convert well. Because if you don't have that, you're missing out on the highest quality, lowest cost lead that you can get. And none of the other paid strategies you use are going to be as effective as they could be. Because you don't have a good website that converts well, you're going to have to pay so much more to get the traffic to generate the call volume that you need. So start with a good foundation. Make sure that you're leveraging social media and email marketing to retain your customer base and keep them coming back. And then start to look at paid advertising and pay-per-click. Most of the contractors I evaluate have this pyramid inverted. In other words, they're spending a ton of money on pay-per-click advertising. They're really heavily invested in Angie's List and the other paid online directories, but they don't have the foundation right. So that's the main thing I want to leave you with in terms of your paid online marketing strategy. Just make sure you have a good foundation before you're spending too much on these other strategies. But don't feel like you should just stop here either, because there's a lot of opportunity to be had in really exploring all of the different paid online marketing channels. So again, just going back to the top 3 initiatives that we talked about at the beginning, I want you to look at that. And while you guys are reviewing that, I want to bring up my panel. We've got a panel of other QSC members that we're going to ask some questions, and you guys can ask them questions that have really effective internet marketing strategies. So Greg, Lawrence, Karen, Tina, panel, Sam, Come on up. So I'm sure you guys are tired of hearing from me, so you get to hear from the people that really matter, which is your fellow QSC members. So we'll start with Greg. Just each of you, if you could say the name of your company, who you are, the area that you serve.
Greg Joyce, Schuler Service Incorporated, Allentown, Pennsylvania, northeast, or I guess I would say 60 miles north of the Philadelphia market.
S&D Plumbing, we cover the Austin market, which is for us very big. We go from Waco, Texas to San Marcos, then as far east as Marble Falls, and west to Marble Falls, east to College Station, so we cover a large area.
Hi, I'm Karen with Pickett Plumbing in Houston, and we cover basically the west side of town, north and south of I-10, and what we don't handle, we're going to send to Sam, because he's on the other end of 290.
Tina with Ray Schaefer Plumbing, Schwenksville, Pennsylvania. The eastern side of Pennsylvania, probably halfway between Philadelphia and Allentown.
You say Swanksville? Lawrence Snow with Valley Plumbing and Drain Cleaning. We handle, our service area is Salt Lake City and south to basically Provo, Utah.
Awesome. So now if you could, just thinking about the digital dominance method and all of the different channels from SEO and pay-per-click and pay-per-lead services, for you, which of these channels tends to generate the most? Maybe it's one, maybe it's two, where most of your business comes from now. We'll start with Lawrence.
I think our SEO is really starting to pick up. We do quite a bit of pay-per-click advertising as well, and it's pretty well consistent month after month. But again, our SEO is where our biggest volume and bigger paying customers are.
I have to agree with Lawrence. It's the SEO, tracking all the calls that come in. We're finding that we're getting bigger bangs for our bucks with them as far as the average service ticket.
Same here, SEO. Josh is also doing our social media, Facebook, Twitter, and we're not doing pay-per-click yet. We don't have that solid base, but we're getting there. We have some really good numbers from the past 3 years.
You know, we're using all of them. I've got a list here because I had to ask Les, what are we doing? I don't have a lot. I hand it over to Josh and say, make sure it's done. And we're using, the reviews are working real well for us. We're letting Josh handle everything. I'll leave it at that.
All right, that's good. I like that answer.
Yeah, it seems like the common denominator here is SEO. That's certainly our number one lead generator. The reviews, obviously, and Nearby Now certainly is huge for us. The reviews are key, and that's also part of the SEO that Josh and his team does.
Awesome. So I don't want to beat a dead horse on the review topic because that was already covered in the last session. But one thing I wanted to drill down on is you guys all have a lot of online reviews. You've got some good strategies in place. A lot of you use different tools. But I guess probably what's more useful for the audience is what tool do you use, but more importantly, how do you get your guys engaged in using the tool? How do you get the team involved in that process? Because that seems to be the critical factor to the companies that actually get results with reviews versus have the tools but don't really get the results. We'll start with Greg this time.
What we do with the reviews is not just to leave behind cards, but the spiffs as well with the reviews. So every Wednesday mornings during our training sessions, which is an hour every Wednesday morning, we usually start off with the reviews and read them out aloud and sort of like as a cheerleader type of a situation. And then we just reward them with this $10 cash reward for each of the reviews that they get online. And seems to be working quite well, so we get at least, we average 3 or 4 per week between all the different areas of reviews, which are then come through, I guess is that Bird Eye, the reviews get collected and then be, put up on our site. So I think by just using the spiffs, it really helps out because it's just an incentive to do the leave behinds and even mention to the customer, certainly a happy customer after we're finished, that doesn't hurt to get on and express how they feel about our services. And it seems to work well.
So engaging the guys, getting them involved in the training process, spiff, powerful.
We're using the same program. The spiffs are great. My job is every Tuesday afternoon I have to go to the bank and get an envelope full of $5 bills. So they really enjoy the cash floating around for the reviews, and so they push really hard. It's part of the incentive-based pay. It's part of the making them accountable for their customers. The spiff part works really well for the reviews.
Nice. Cash money. Cash money's good.
We are actually moving to an email review process where our computer system will automatically email the client, and then they can leave the review and through Nearby Now. We're not spiffing them, but we can do that. We can move to that. We want to put it more in the hands of the client.
Right. Okay. Nice.
My guys are button heads about asking for the review, so we do it in our thank you card.
Okay.
It's a part of our handwritten thank you card that we put in to please go on and review us online on our website.
Nice.
Yeah, but I hate paying guys spiffs for stuff that they need to do, but I just might have to.
I think just ditto what everybody says here. The only thing we don't do at this point is pay cash, but it's a great idea. We put it in a fund, list the fund up on our big board, and on that big board they know exactly how much money's in the account. They want to go buy a pair of shoes or boots or tools and stuff like that. They can do that.
Great. I'm gonna open up to you guys here in a second. So start thinking about any questions you might want to ask them as opposed to myself. So while we go, there's a lot of moving parts to internet marketing, right? All of these different things. But really, at the end of the day, you want to make sure you have tracking in place to quantify whether all of this stuff is working or not. And so tracking might be analytics, it might be keyword tracking, it might be calls, it might be using Service Titan. Just talk to me a little bit about how you guys track, if you're comfortable explaining, how you track the return on investment for your internet marketing. We'll start over here with Lawrence.
Our computer system tracks that for us. And again, we have tracking telephone numbers, and so each telephone call, if the customer doesn't know where they found us, we were able to go back into those telephone reviews, or whatever it is, the different sites we have where the telephone number came from, and find out where that customer got our information from. Then we put it in the system, and we print out a report that says, here's our return on our investment.
Nice. So it's more for you, the counting data, than the call data. Good.
Right now my software doesn't do it, so that's why I'm switching softwares. I do it all manually by Excel, and for everything like the call tracking that I get weekly from the phone number from my website, I sit there and I listen to them. I pull up the customer's information, go in and see how much money we made for that ticket. And then just any other stuff we do, it's all on a spreadsheet, which helps me. I put in how much I paid for it and what we got in return for it.
Our call tracking, we ask every caller, where'd you get our phone number today? We can do reports based on where the location found us or where the job source found us. Right now I have 6 different www ad sources, and Google's our largest one, and with an increase of over 50% in the past 3 years since we've been using Josh just for the Google source.
Awesome.
We also have a second web page that he does. We started with our HoustonPlumber.com just because I love that it was our city name. And Josh's website has far surpassed that one in less than 3 years.
Great. Thank you.
In the last roundtable discussion, we had a segment that talked about delegators. I'm really good at that, so I'll pass the mic over and say that what we're doing works. I collect the check every month, and don't worry about that detail. Sorry, I wasn't
absolutely.
prepared for that one.
That's fine.
It's funny, this came up because it was one of our goals that we set before we came here, to track it more accurately, to more on the revenue side. Because at the moment, within our scripts for the CSRs, they ask, how did you get our phone number today? And at that point, it just becomes too cumbersome, too many calls to review. So we did call rail through Josh's firm, and that would be a weekly report that we get through call rail. But that's basically just giving us the amount of calls. So we really wanted to turn it over to our software, which is Service Titan, and that's one thing we're working on just previous to this meeting, is taking the call rail and then transferring over to the Service Titan, and then that way we could track the revenue per each of the 30 some odd numbers that we use for the different marketing pieces that we do.
Good stuff. Great. Any questions from you guys for the panel? Frankie's got a question.
Okay, so I post to my business on the on Hootsuite for Facebook, the business page, and that goes to Twitter and to LinkedIn at the same time. Is that better than just posting on one site, or should I post individually on each one of those as opposed to going to one and then that one branches to the rest of them?
Do any of you guys want to answer that, or you want me to answer it? Go ahead. I mean, it's always better to use. It would be better to post something different on Facebook than Twitter because it's a little bit different audience. I think for the purposes of plumbing and HVAC companies, it really doesn't make that large of a difference, and you're better just to get it done, set it up on Hootsuite, do your post, and push it out. So you don't have to overthink it because the return on investment is not going to be that significant doing a custom post on Twitter versus Facebook.
My question is, our customer base is pretty much we service older Generation X to baby boomers. And the thought that the baby boomers and the millennials are the largest generations, what's the thought moving forward that when the X's get older, their generation's smaller, and the ones that are the millennials now, is there any thought of how you're going to target, or is there a way to target millennials now since most of them live on beaches and eat seaweed? You know, are they going to be buying houses, or are they going to be renting? You know, is there any thought in that coming up in the future?
The demographic shift, I'm sure you guys have thoughts on this.
I would say strictly start with making sure that your site is mobile compatible. And from there, who knows what's going to happen in the next 5-10 years. It's going to change. But definitely mobile compatible where they can reach you, because if they have a toilet, they need you.
The millennials are still going to buy homes. Don't think they're all just going to rent homes and, you know. Anybody else want to chime in on the demographic shifting? Okay, we got a question back here.
Yeah, I wonder if anybody's had any problem with Home Advisor kind of hijacking your website. Now, I used to use Service Magic, and I haven't since they changed their name to Home Advisor. I haven't signed up for that. But I did realize that you know, the contract that they used to have was that, you know, you're signing them on as an advertising agent, and they would go sign a bunch of other contracts with City Search or Google and stuff like that. And so, you know, they can just go on to Google locations and basically, you know, just put their telephone number, you know, with your name. And then when they call in, it's, you know, shot out to 5 other contractors instead of just you.
Yeah, I have seen that happen. I think it's an old practice of Home Advisor. I don't think they're really doing it at this point in time, to my knowledge, and I could be wrong on that. But I am wrong. They still hijack your listings. Go ahead, Lawrence. Lawrence knows better than me.
Unless things have changed, I think they're still an industry partner. But again, they like you say, they hijack that as well as YP.com. I mean, there's hundreds of them out there that do the same thing. We have plumbing contractors do the same thing. It's pretty rampant. On the Home Advisor type of thing, for us, that's what started our business. And we still, until just recently, have done extremely well. It's been one of our lowest cost lead sources out there until recently.
You still want to be real careful. You don't want Home Advisor hijacking your listings. I know that there's ways to protect yourself around that, but if they're going in and they're putting their website and or their phone number on your Google listing or your Yelp listing or any of that stuff, that creates some troubles. Do you feel like that's still an issue?
We asked them to take it off. When they changed their logarithms or whatever they were doing on their side, it came back up again. It's been probably 6 months ago we called and asked them to take it off, and they did.
I have a question about service areas. It sounds like a majority of you have very large service areas. We do as well, all of Palm Beach County, which is a couple miles south. How do you optimize the keywords and, you know, the city pages and things like that, where our office building is not in one of the great major cities, it's in a smaller city? Mm-hmm. So how do you do the keywords when you want a major West Palm Beach instead of Green Acres or something smaller?
So I'll answer that if that's okay with you guys. So that's a bit of a challenge, right? So you're in Green Acres, but you want to target West Palm Beach, just as an example. You're probably not going to wind up ranking on the Google map in West Palm Beach because you need a physical location. But if the majority of your customer base, and it's kind of the anchor town, is West Palm Beach, then you want to build your website around West Palm Beach. So the home, about us, our services, those are going to say West Palm Beach, plumber, plumbing service, kind of like I saw on your site. Google Maps is looking at the name, address, phone number. So you're in your footer, you're going to list your company's name, address, and phone number. It's going to say Green Acres if that's where you are. So as long as Google can spy to your website and get that data to be a match, you should be okay. And the way you target those surrounding cities is to have pages for each one of those with unique content, the right title tag, H1 tag content, use Nearby Now to create heat map data for those pages. And then you have to do some link building and some authority development to get those city pages to rank well in search.
So the keyword, Lake Worth plumber, West Palm Beach plumber, that's where your city pages come in?
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly. Good question. Any other questions? Well, thank you guys for my panel. I really appreciate you joining me. Clap. Thank you. So really all I want to close with, I want you guys to, oh my goodness, my thing went all the way back. I just want you guys to look at your worksheet and go back to the top 3 things. I want you to walk away from this session with a clear action plan on what you're going to do and what you're going to change. And if you need help, if you'd like to have somebody that can look at your rankings with you, help you implement these strategies, help you make sure you're doing that right, that's what we do. That's kind of our specialty. So we'd love the opportunity to talk with you. Really appreciate your time and hope you got value from today's session. Thank you.